Hey guys, we had some great guesses. Unfortunately, nobody guessed the right person. I have two people I'm going to announce that I think were the closest, but all your guesses were great. In fact, every name on that list I have at one time or another invited to be on the show. And I haven't heard. And Michael Voris was on the list, and he was actually on the show. Great guest. I love the man. But Peter Kreeft, Thomas Sowell, actually there was one name I did not even think of to invite, but now I think, wow, that would be a great guest, was Clarence Thomas. Ralph Martin, someone listed, Trent Horn. I invited all these people, and I haven't heard back from any of them. Clarence Thomas sounds ridiculous. Why would he be on my show? And it probably is ridiculous, but God does ridiculous things for us. Like, people told me I was ridiculous thinking I can get Scott Hahn on the show, and all I did was send out an email, and he said, yeah, I'd be happy to be on your show. Even like this scholar I got on Thursday, it was the same thing. Like, in the natural, I'd be like, yeah, this guy ain't going to do it. But let me see if I can find him. And took a little research, and I found a way of getting in contact with him and sent an email. And within 24 hours, he's like, yeah, Rob, I'd be happy to be on your show. And but before I get to that, I just want to comment on my video yesterday about the Latin Mass. I stand by everything I said, but I just want to make clear that I wasn't saying what Pope Francis did was I agree with or I disagree with. I told you I've never been to a Latin Mass. The only thing I wanted to make clear was I don't think it was Pope Francis's motivations are nefarious or evil or bad. I take him at his word. He's doing it for unity. He wants the church to be united. And, it was one of the things that drew me back to the Catholic Church, I'll be honest with you, was the unity. I felt like God was, the more I read the scripture, I seen that God created one church and he wanted us to be united. And, and I hear people say, well, the new Mass is too Protestant. I've been to a lot of Protestant churches. This is not anything like any Protestant church I've been. I've been across the spectrum: Pentecostal, Mega Church, Presbyterian, Reformed, Baptist. It is like no other church, the new Mass. I've never been to Latin Mass, but when I came back home after 30, 40, I don't know. The last time I was in a Catholic church, I was in second grade. I was born in 1965, so maybe like 1972. And then I came back when I was 19. I became an evangelical when I was 19. And I studied the Bible every day. I had great Bible teachers, men with PhDs in New Testament studies, men that knew Greek and Hebrew, Aramaic, and they taught me. And for 30 years, I studied the Bible. And when I came into a new Mass, I was blown away. Every prayer, every song, everything the priest said, everything the priest did, everything we did as a congregation was off the pages of the Bible. It blew my mind. And I've talked to dozens of former evangelicals that became Catholic that tell me the same thing. And, even Scott Hahn, who before he was a Catholic scholar was a Protestant scholar, said the same thing, and he took it even deeper and wrote the two books, the Fourth Cup and the Lamb's Supper, which I think should be required reading for every Christian, whether you're Catholic or Protestant. So the new Mass drew us in, it drew us evangelicals in. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but there is an evangelical exodus into the Catholic Church and out of Protestantism because of this new Mass and because of Pope Francis's outreach. If you don't believe me, read the book Evangelical Exodus. It's happening right now. A lot of Bible-believing Protestants are becoming Catholics because they're walking into the new Mass. They know the Bible and they hear the scriptures. It's like they're living in the book of Revelations. We're there. We're at the cross. It's amazing. The new Mass is amazing. And I know my friends who love the Latin Mass don't see it this way. And, we can agree to disagree, I know some of these guys and I love them. Like I said yesterday, I don't think they're divisive. I think they love the Lord. They love the church, but this is what they believe. But like my guest, and I could be wrong. My guest that's going to be on Thursday said it best, and he's a scholar, so I'll kind of do the best I can and put it in my words. But basically, he said, the only thing we know infallibly is that we're all fallible. And once we admit that we could be wrong, that, in fact, some of the stuff we actually believe one day we'll find out is wrong. Once we can admit that, then we can have intellectual honesty. And he said, this is why we should never shut down our critics, and we should always listen to those who disagree with us. Because if they convince us, if they persuade us that we're wrong, even if it's a public embarrassment, if I got to come on YouTube and say, yeah, I was wrong, and this is embarrassing, even if that occurs, my guest says, they've done us a great service in the pursuit of truth. And that's all we're trying to do. We're not enemies. We're friends. And if you're Catholic, you're my brother. And we both have the same pursuit of truth. And another thing I love about my guest is he dialogues. He's as conservative as they come. He's very conservative. And he'll dialogue with liberals. And one of the liberal friends of his he was having a dialogue with put it pretty good too. He said, we're all cracked vessels, and we're all working this out. We got to work hard to be the way Jesus wants us to be. So basically, we're all crackpots for Christ. I added the crack part thing. But basically, he's saying, we're all broken vessels. We all come to Jesus broken. He puts us together. None of us have it all together. And we're in this pursuit of truth, even if we disagree. I could be wrong. I'm not saying that I agree with what Pope Francis did about the Latin Mass. I'm saying I don't know. I've never been to a Latin Mass. But what I do believe is it's not nefarious. He's not doing it because he's mean. He's not doing it because he's evil. I take him at his word. He said he's doing it for unity. So I take him at his word. I don't know if it's correct or incorrect. But I do know when I came back to the church, I was blown away. I called a friend of mine in Steubenville that I hadn't seen in 30 years. He was a Catholic that I met at an abortion mill, and he was the only Catholic that I met that knew the Bible better than me, and I was like, wow. So I remembered him, and I called him back. I said, hey, I came back to the Catholic Church, and we were kind of dialoguing, and then I called him after my first Mass. I said, man, that was amazing. I said, it was like the Bible was alive. Us Protestants used to say, oh, Catholics don't believe the Bible. Catholics, don't care about the Bible. I said, the whole Mass was the Bible. And he said, yeah, wasn't it some good readings today? And he started explaining the reading. I said, how did you know what my reading was? And he goes, every Catholic church has the same reading. I was like, no way. I'm like, every Catholic church in the whole world. He's like, yeah. I was like, that is the unity that I've been looking for. That's the unity Jesus was talking about. And then I went home. My wife was all excited about the daily Mass. I wasn't able to make it, but she was going to daily Mass. And she said, Rob, this is just so awesome. The unity. We're all praying together. And I know that their daily Mass is going all around the world today, and we're all praying together. I said, what's more awesome? They're all reading the same scripture. She's like, no way. So what I'm trying to say is the new Mass brought me in and brought many evangelicals into the church. And Pope Francis's outreach to evangelicals, speaking our language, brought us in. So I could never, say a bad thing about it, And like I said, I'll admit, like my guest says, I could be wrong. There's things that I believe now that, 30 years ago, I swore the Pope was the Antichrist. 30 years ago, I swore even probably 15 years ago, I thought the Catholic Church was the whore of Babylon. So I know I could be wrong, but I'm just telling you what I believe. And, like I said, I've had some of these guys. I've had, guys that I believe love the Latin Mass, and they see Pope Francis a little different than me. I had Timothy Gordon on. I learned a lot from him. He's a really smart man. I believe he's sincere. He don't hold nothing back. He means what he says, and he says what he means. That's what I love about the guy. I believe he loves the Lord and he loves the church. But we have some disagreements. Same thing with Michael Voris. Michael Voris, we were both on a mission. We were both just as passionate to get the most pro-Catholic president ever, the most pro-life president ever reelected. And we were both disappointed. We failed. But he came on my show, to help with that cause. I mean, we were united. We were both united. And I think on most issues, we're united. It was just, we probably disagree. I would imagine, I haven't spoke to him, but I imagine we disagree on the Pope's restricting the Latin Mass. But we're brothers in Christ, and I love him, and I genuinely like him, and I've learned from him, you know. And I believe God is calling us to unity, you know. And like I gave the analogy of being an enlisted guy in the Navy, you know, the admiral didn't always explain to me why he did everything. You know, I just had to take him at his word. He's doing it for the best, you know, what he thinks is best for the Navy, you know, even if I disagreed. So getting to my guest. Okay, so these were all great guesses. Peter Kreeft, Ralph Martin, Trent Horn, Thomas Sowell, Clarence Thomas. I would love to have any one of them on. If somebody knows one of those guys, tell them to come on, Blue Collar Catholic. But I think the two that were closest was Clarence Thomas and Thomas Sowell. Clarence Thomas, because I did say he was a legal scholar. Thomas Sowell, because Thomas Sowell kind of touches on everything. If he's just a really intellectual guy that talks about economics, talks about politics. I don't know his religious background, so I know Clarence Thomas is a Catholic, so Clarence Thomas would probably have been the best guest. But Clarence Thomas being a judge, I don't know, he often talks about political stuff. So the guy I got on is a political scholar, a legal scholar. In fact, what's so awesome about this dude is he's considered one of the greatest conservative thinkers of our time, yet liberal Supreme Court Justice Alina Kagan said this about him. He is one of the greatest legal theorists of our generation. So you have a liberal judge able to say that honestly about this man. At the same time, one of our most conservative presidents, George W. Bush, gave him a medal. I think it's like the second highest medal you can get as a civilian for his work on behalf of the country. This man dialogues with his good friend Cornel West, a liberal professor from Harvard, I believe. And both of these guys actually are the guys that got that letter going, stating that they need to end cancel culture on universities. They need to end this restriction of freedom of speech. And he was able to get a lot of liberal professors to sign on to it. And so that's why I want to ask him, how do we dialogue? Like, you know, he's an old school conservative, and I remember always being able to debate liberals, but now it's very hard to have a dialogue because they're all so angry and hateful. So I want to learn from him. How do you do it? Because he does it. He still does it. So the man's name is Robert P. George. Google him, check him out. He's a professor from Princeton University. He has several books. I don't have all the statistics. I'll read them when I introduce him on Thursday. But basically, this guy is an intellectual heavyweight, a legal scholar, a political scholar, and even found him on YouTube playing folk music on his guitar. And I commented, this guy is a Renaissance man. He just seems like the nicest guy. He's able to dialogue and debate with people of opposing views. And he's a Catholic. He loves our church. He loves our country. So I think he's going to be a very interesting guest. I have a lot of questions for him. And I think even if you guys haven't heard of him before, you need to check this guy out. I think we're all going to learn from this great man. Again, Robert P. George, professor at Princeton University. Thursday, I'm going to record it. Lord willing, we'll upload it Thursday night at the latest Friday morning. So subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss it. And if you're buying or selling real estate, go to realestateforlife.org. Stay Catholic.